Hi everyone, my name is Christine. Today I am going to be making a quilted top out of memorial clothing to recover this bench top for a family friend. Here we go. Thank you for joining me today. I am taking the existing cover off of her bench to get a measurement on it, and it measures about 24 inches by 30 inches. I'm going to be creating the classic postage stamp style using 2.5-inch squares, and I am using memorial clothing. I am going to cut these fabrics into squares, but I'm also going to cut strips and sew those together in a way until I get a large enough quilt top. I am also going to make the top larger than what this existing one is, because when I quilt it, it is going to make it shrink up a little bit. Plus I want to make sure that she has plenty of fabric to go around the edges as she needs to when she puts the top back on here. I am familiar with this clothing as I have made several other quilted memorial projects before. I will show photos of those projects at the end of this video. I ironed interfacing to the back of the clothing that were either a rayon or a stretchy material. I cut them into 2.5-inch strips, making sure to try to get as much of a pattern in there as possible, as well as fussy cutting strips and squares. Okay, so I have at least one strip cut from each shirt or a pair of shorts, and I have laid them out from dark to light, and they are 2.5 inches by about 20 inches or so, and I have also cut some 2.5-inch by 2.5-inch fussy cut squares. So I'm just going to grab a strip from the dark pile and sew it to the light pile. I use my Stripology ruler from Creative Grids to cut my segments. It has number indicators as well as markings at 1.5 inches and 2.5 inches. So I line it up here and then I go through and just cut my 2.5-inch segments. So after I've cut my strips into 2.5-inch squares, I put them back into their same piles. I want to keep this quilt top as scrappy as possible and avoid two fabrics by each other. So what I like to do is grab a pile, and there are 7 in this pile. Then I am going to grab 7 from the other piles just at random, and then sew these together into 4 patches. And then when these are done, I will grab another pile and continue on that way. Okay, I have my two piles. So this is my set that has the same fabrics in this pile on both sides. And so I am just going to finger press these open, and then I will grab one from my random piles and finger press those open and see if I like that as a set. If I'm kind of iffy on it, then I'll just grab another one from my random pile and open that and see if I like that one. I have my sewing machine set at a 2.0 stitch length since I am dealing with such small pieces. Plus, this is going to be placed on a bench that may be sat upon. I want to make sure it is as strong and as durable as possible. Also, I will be stabilizing this a little bit extra, and I'll show you that in just a moment. When I am happy with the layout, I like to take a picture with my phone to refer back to it later if I need to. And so I take pins and I put pins at the top of each row to help me keep my rows straight. So I do 1 pin in row 1, 2 pins in row 2, and 3 pins in row 3. This is just a process that I use to help me keep things straight, and I will refer back to that photo if I feel that things got mixed up, but this is scrappy, so I don't get too worried about it. Okay, so I have my quilt top done, and before I sandwich this to quilt it, I want to stabilize the back of it to make sure it's going to be very sturdy since it is going to be used on a bench. So I have cut some interfacing. I use a Pellon P44F. It is a lightweight interfacing. And so I'm just going to go ahead and iron this to the back before I make my quilt sandwich. As far as the seams go on the back, I'm really not worried which way they go. The only thing I am concerned about is making sure that I don't have any like dark colored threads over the light colored fabric. And that's about it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put my interfacing on like this, and this should help get it all nice and stable. Okay, I have my quilt sandwich made, and I am going to quilt this on my home sewing machine using a serpentine stitch. It's a subtle wavy stitch which will help give this texture and strength and durability. I like to stitch down about 3 or 4 times in the same direction, and then I will flip the project around and stitch down 3 or 4 times in the opposite direction, and then just repeat until I get to the edge of the project. My last step is to come outside and spray it with a fabric protector. And then I will take it back inside to let it dry. I hope you have enjoyed my memorial bench cover tutorial using the classic postage stamp pattern. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a great day.